Hey Gary, Stuart from Australia here, just about to sit down and do the marathon. So 7 hours straight. I'm home, it's hot. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch every hour. I'm gonna jump back in, make a little mini video about what I've seen, what you've spoken about, my thoughts, and then I'm gonna put it together and punch it up on the tube and see what people think. But I'm really excited. I'm rapt that you've done a massive, I was hoping following your content that you're gonna do like a full day of what you do so I can see how you optimize your time and how you roll. So thanks for putting it up. I know it's only 7 hours of a day, but if you ever want to put up a 24-hour, if you can ever do that, maybe we'll give it a watch as well. Sit down, have a little Gary V party. So thanks very much for putting it up there, and I'll be back in an hour once I've rolled through the first hour of your day and put down an update on what's going on. Cheers. Day in the life of an American CEO, and it's really interesting. Particularly to watch how real Gary is. I don't know, people probably think that he maybe puts it on. Some of you out there might doubt it. But just in the way that he portrays himself to other people, it seems completely natural, which is really refreshing. But a lot of what you hear in his content live, just seeing it there, the first hour of the show, they go to Virgin Radio in Dubai and spend some time there with some listeners who won a prize, and really refreshing to see that. So the other thing that surprises me though is the questions that he gets asked. A lot of it's all in his content. If you watch enough of it and just consume it, rather than sit there listening to it, and you actually pay attention and try and understand what he's saying about bigger picture and opportunity and optimism and how vast the internet is and opportunities for everyone to change their way of life by making sure they're positive in their mindset. It's interesting to see people ask those questions as well. So sort of sitting there thinking, if I met Gary Vee, what question would I ask? And I at this point in time probably struggle to come up with a question to ask him, because I really don't know what else he can add other than specific micro things to what I do that he can add, because all the macro stuff's in his content. Anyway, so really excited. I don't know where it's going now. Just run through my first YouTube ad because I'm not on YouTube Premium. So hour in, let's see what the second hour brings. Okay, so just finished the third hour, or getting into the third hour, I should say, of the day in the life of an American CEO with Gary Vee. This is a really interesting hour, actually. The open mic Q&A session with Through the Lens. So lots of really good, put some really good clarity around a lot of what Gary talks about. So particularly in terms of, he continually talks about getting content out, creating content, like even today, getting his team to take over his Twitter feed and get 100 tweets out in one day. But more in terms of the advertising light globe that I guess I sort of triggered with, which was, it's definitely about more content, but it's also about what you can do with the content. Because of the amount of information that's available on the internet, you can get really, really specific in what you do with that content. And so when you're using the content and targeting it correctly, you can work out what, a guy like myself, so what a 35-year-old male who's interested in sports, what reacts to be able to sell perfume to me for my wife for Christmas. So, and you can get that specific with it. So by putting out more content, you'll be able to work out more about what works and more about where you can put it and more about what you can do with it. And of course, as a result of that, you can really hyper target your market and actually get much more cost-effective results with the marketing spend that you're getting. So rather than companies spending billions and billions of dollars on advertising, they can cut their spend and spend, say, an exaggerated figure, maybe like $1 million, but get that $20 or $30 million worth of spend because they're spending it smarter. They're putting it in front of people in a way that those people will respond to help them buy their product if they're genuinely interested in it. So a really, really good hour, and only just straight into it as well. So if you're looking to skip ahead, I wouldn't suggest you do, but if you're looking to skip ahead, definitely an hour worth watching. Grab a notepad and pen as well. It's worthwhile taking some notes. Into the third hour, still super pumped. I'm still enjoying it. So yeah, I'll touch base again. So into hour 4. Hour 3, really good place for people who are just following Gary to start out. Lots of really good information on his philosophy or his approach to life and how you consider failures and following what you're passionate about and listening to yourself and finding out who you are. So a really good hour of content for people who are just following Gary and want to understand sort of, I guess, what drives him and the way that he processes what he does. I was really interested in one particular point of it though, which is, Gary always talks about underpriced attention and following attention, and I thought it was fascinating to see the front row. I imagine that those tickets were probably expensive tickets. Front row in front of Gary V, and people are sitting there on their phones. So talk about like people not watching television commercials anymore. Center stage, one of the best people I would think to talk about marketing and strategy and even just life and motivation getting around at the moment. And there's people sitting on their phones. So take a big message out of that in terms of looking at where attention's focused and what people are spending their time doing, because said they would have probably spent a lot of money to sit in the front row and be up close and personal with Gary. So yeah, really interesting. Into hour 4, I'm at about 4 hours 15 minutes. I've just stopped there to make the update. So yeah, really keen to see what the last 3 hours of the video bring. So I'll see you in another hour. So I've just stopped it at 5 hours and 20 minutes. And look, there's a fair bit of time where Gary spends signing books and answering questions and taking selfies. And to be honest, look, there's not a lot to get out of that part of the video from a content perspective, but it's a really interesting insight. I heard someone shout out that how lucky Gary was, which is an extraordinary thing to say, because I highly doubt that he thinks that he's lucky. He certainly lives a 1% of life, but he works a 1% of life as well. But the thing that I really took out of it was extraordinary patience, and probably he would call it appreciation or thanks. Signing every book, taking selfies, it just personality-wise just takes an extraordinarily large amount of patience. I would imagine. I was feeling for D-Rock getting pushed around and sort of squashed in there, and just massive amounts of people wanting attention and time and stuff, and gave it to everyone, which is just an amazing thing for someone to do. So particularly at that point of the day, I think they said they finished there about 2 o'clock. Been up since early AM and just up and at it. So yeah, really extraordinary insight into probably the bit that you don't think about when you see the lights and the glamour and the pictures and all of the hard work that goes into it. Just that type of environment and what it takes to be there. So interested to see what's going to happen in the last sort of 2 hours now. And yeah, go from there. So I'll touch base in another hour or so. So just at under an hour to go. Just finished a really interesting session with some CPG brands at Facebook, and really just talking about the amazing way in which those brands ignore the changing face of marketing. So again, if you're really interested in looking at when Gary talks about how he's building a machine and he's going to process brands through that machine when the economy crashes. This is really why he thinks that he's going to be able to do that and do it successfully. And there's a hell of a lot of sense in what he's saying when brands are spending millions and millions of dollars, again, on advertising, on TV, and not dead platforms, but not cost-effective platforms. Or you'll hear him talk about arbitrage, where clearly you're getting far more value than the cost that it takes to get that interaction with someone when you're marketing. So he's really talking with those brands about just how, I guess, bewildering it is that they're not taking notice. and taking questions on it. The questions are a little bit hard to hear, but you certainly get the general idea of it. And then he goes into a Q&A session with some of the people from Facebook as well. So yeah, really good another segment in the video. I got a lot out of that one as well. So particularly a lot of just processing the background in my mind of where things are at and why, you know, in my own business we need to be doing what we're doing and how we're doing things. So yeah, another good segment. So let's see what the last hour of a day in the life of an American CEO brings. See you in an hour. Hey guys, so I've just finished the 7-hour epic from the new Godfather, not the old Godfather. Look, the last hour is really just a really natural way for Gary spending some time in a social environment, I'd say, getting around, meeting lots of people, having lots of conversations, and really just sending home his message. D-Rock's hanging around in the background in terms of filming, so it really is just natural habitat, like Gary getting around and having a chat. So it's been a really rewarding experience today. The reason I wanted to do it today, look, it's 1:56 in the morning here in Melbourne. I've been up since 4:15 this morning for my usual work day, gym and all the other bits and pieces that I do. And I really wanted to get an idea when I heard about this in the 22-hour epic day that they were doing, about how it would feel to work for 22 hours. Obviously I'm sitting down watching a video. It is work, listening, paying attention. Not quite the way that Gary's getting around and a busy day there, but really wanted to get the full experience. And I'm beat, and you know, I've done my full work day and then sat down and watched a movie for effectively for seven and a bit hours. So it really shows you the passion and energy that he brings to what he does. So really great work, and you know, shout out to D-Rock as well, the full day from him too, and walking around doing what he does, and obviously is passionate about doing. So whether you've been listening to Gary V for a week, a month, a year, 6 years, wine library, you know, whether you've known him from school, whatever the case might be, it's a really good place for you to start. There's lots of content for everyone. So I'd encourage you to watch it, whether you watch it in half-hour blocks, hour blocks, or try and do the 7-hour marathon. Yeah, get into it and love it. So I'm going to upload these videos. There are 7 of them, so you can either watch them in the individual content pieces by hour if you want to know what goes on in the next hour that you've got coming up, or I'm going to upload it in one 7 section video so you watch the whole thing in one go. Give it a share, give me some feedback. Yeah, and I hope you get out of it what I did. Cheers.